All right, let's talk about one of the biggest or most unexpected mysteries of ancient Rome. Why did Roman sculptures depict their male figures with, let's say, modest proportions? We've all seen the statues, broad shoulders, chiseled abs, strong jawlines, absolute specimens of peak human form, and then you look down and it's like, oh, well, that's surprisingly understated. So what was going on? Were the Romans just being humble? Or was there a deeper reason behind these artistic choices? First off, let's clear something up. The Romans weren't walking around with some kind of universal anatomical anomaly. This wasn't a biological thing, it was cultural. Back in the day, having a more subtle presentation was actually seen as a sign of intelligence, self-control, and refinement. Seriously, the idea was that someone who was well endowed was often portrayed as foolish, overly lustful, or even barbaric. Meanwhile, someone with a more modest depiction, that was a man of reason, a thinker, a leader. The ancient Romans were all about balance and discipline. The ideal Roman man wasn't just strong, he was wise, composed, and dignified. Their art reflected that. Sculptures were created to idealize the human form, and if that meant downplaying certain features to emphasize the qualities of intellect and restraint, then so be it. Now contrast this with how Romans depicted outsiders, particularly so-called barbarians in their art. These figures were often shown as being larger in some areas, but not in a flattering way, more as a symbol of their perceived lack of civilization and discipline. And let's be honest, Roman artists were perfectionists when it came to aesthetics. If they were sculpting a figure to represent power and wisdom, they weren't about to let one exaggerated feature distract from that message. Imagine standing in front of a statue of Julius Caesar, contemplating his leadership and influence, but all you can focus on is, well, something else. That's not the artistic message they were going for. Interestingly, when the Romans did depict larger proportions, it was usually in comedic or exaggerated ways. Figures like satyrs or fertility gods were given the opposite treatment because they represented excess and indulgence rather than reason and control. So in a strange twist, having a smaller depiction wasn't an insult. It was actually a compliment. It was a symbol of civilization, wisdom, and status. Now, does this mean Roman men were insecure? Maybe. Or maybe they just had a different view of what was worthy of admiration. It's kind of funny to think that if we showed them today's beauty standards, where people want to be seen as larger in certain areas, they'd probably be horrified. So, yeah, Roman statues had refined proportions, not because they were shy about it, but because they were making a point. A very small, yet highly philosophical point. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new today. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.